All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader. Larry Krueger with you as we get you ready for the Niners and the Pats coming up Sunday. And with us to help us break it all down, a guy who's been on the beat and covering the Pats for years, Tom Curran. He's a great follow on X, Tom E. Curran, Pats Insider. You can catch him on NBC Sports Boston. Tom, is it true that you putt one-handed?
100% true. And I try to get away from it because, I have enough friends to play with who think it looks ridiculous. And I'll go away from it. And then I'll say, you know what? I'm pulling everything. I'm going back to one hand. And then boom, 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 boom. So
look at you. Look at you. Okay. I'm that, crazy guy who does more prep than anybody. So last night I got the NFL Plus and I said, you know what? I'm going to go through all the Patriots games, and I watched all of Cincinnati, all of Seattle, all of the Jets. And it's this beautiful thing called the NFL Plus. You can watch each game in like 22 minutes. But what I found was, they're 1-2, and their offense doesn't look all that explosive. They don't have great weapons, but it's a big offensive line. The quarterback, Brissett, will run if you give him a lane. Ramondre Stevenson is a bull. I mean, he is a bull. Pop Douglas is a slippery little wide receiver from Liberty who's pretty good. They go 12 personnel a lot. They got two pretty good tight ends in Hooper and Henry. This guard from A&M, Layden Robinson, can pancake your butt if you're not ready in the run game. And then defensively, Duggar, Christian Gonzalez. I mean, they lost Bentley to the injury, but Keon White. The Pats are 1-2, but if the Niners take them lightly, they could easily fall to 1-3. The 49ers could, that is. Give me your thoughts on what New England has looked like, the kind of the 10,000 foot view.
They have been decreasingly effective each week. The first week against Cincinnati, they definitely controlled the line of scrimmage and they were efficient offensively, but a lot of that had to do, Larry, with production on first down and no tape for Cincinnati and Lou Anarumo, and a lot of experience that Alex Van Pelt and Jacoby Brissett had against the Bengals personnel and defense, having been in the AFC North. So the Patriots had their way on first down. That allowed them to be a little more multiple because they are just not talented enough physically right now or experienced enough on the offensive line to hold anybody off. If teams know that, okay, 2nd and 6, they're in a situation where they have to throw. They don't have anybody who can run past you. Their ex-receiver is Tyquan Thornton, who's been in the league for 3 years. I think he has 25 catches. That's their ex, 2nd-round pick. Demario Douglas is a wonderful player, but it seems as if Jacoby Brissett is so risk-averse that he's either going to take the sack or throw it to Hunter Henry or just put it in the spot. They had to really convince Jacoby to throw it to Demario Douglas. So offensively, they're challenged. If they can do well at the line of scrimmage, which they did against Seattle and they did against Cincinnati, and be positive on first down, they'll have a shot. If they can't, then it's going to look the way it did against the Jets. And the Jets play the same defense as the Niners, as you know, and they're going to pin their ears back. And as Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach here in New England for years, told me earlier this week on my pod, they're going to keep doing it until New England proves they can stop it. And I don't know if they're going to be able to stop it.
You just threw out a name there in Dante Scarnecchia that, you're talking about one of the great pillars of that dynasty. It makes me think of the late great Bob McKittrick, who was one of the one of the pillars of the Niners dynasty. So many times when you look for great teams and dynasty teams in the NFL, deep down there's some elite O-line coach that's doing an amazing job. And Dante did that in New England for a long time. What do you think of New England's offensive line this year? Because they do have, it's big, it's physical. They do have some guys who can destroy you. But as you said, it's very young. And now they're going up against, Bosa and Floyd, two real veterans. But honestly, Tom, the Niners defensive line has yet to really get off.
They made a decision to take a quarterback at number 3. That despite the fact that their previous first-round quarterback was held hostage by an offensive line and a lack of protection and a lack of an offensive identity that was instilled by the coaches. So they already burned through one quarterback. Then they drafted another here, but they didn't do anything about the tackle position. Trent Brown had been their tackle the last couple of years. He was built like a Zeppelin. He's now gone to Cleveland. They have a guy named Vidarian Lowe, earnest, nice human, but he's just not cut out to be a frontline offensive tackle. And when Vidarian got hurt, he ended up with, goddamn, I can't even remember who it was.
Caden Wallace, right?
But poor Caden Wallace, yes. I knew Caden Wallace was a left tackle, had never played the position coming into the NFL, right tackle. Meanwhile, he is at left tackle because Chuks Okorafor had been signed as a free agent from Pittsburgh to play left tackle, even though he had never played left tackle. Had only been a right tackle. And Chuks said, you know what? This sucks. I'm out of here. So they don't have anybody at left tackle that anybody in the NFL right now would say that's a good situation.
I mean, it's not the most talented group, but are they well coached?
I mean, they're new. It's like new, Scott. That's the thing is that,
yeah.
I mean, they know basically what they're supposed to do, but you have two rookies out there in Layden Robinson and Caden Wallace, and you have a guy who just got called up from the practice squad in Michael Jordan, and they're overmatched. So, no, they're not good. They might be good by week 7, but you can't roll that stuff out in prime time against the Jets and expect it to work, especially when you don't have any receivers who can take you off the hook. It's just a poorly constructed offense, and it predates Mayo and Alex Van Pelt. I mean, you look around the NFL, Joe Thuney and Shaq Mason are still starting for teams. Those were the guards for the Patriots. Patriots didn't want to pay him, and they're paying the price. Bill Belichick did not want to pay Joe Thuney, moved on from him. He traded for no good reason Shaq Mason. That makes no sense. And that's why it's funny when we talk to Bill Belichick talking, where's he going to land next? You better scrutinize what the hell happened here before you go hiring Bill Belichick.
That's interesting. Yeah, there a lot of talk is that Shad Khan has fallen in love with Belichick and he's going to be in Jacksonville next year with full and total control. We'll see. You know, I'll say this. I mean, this is me from the other coast looking at this thing from afar, but I think Bill Belichick, the GM, let down Bill Belichick, the head coach. I really don't think their drafting has been all that great since Cesario got out of there.
No, drafting was horrendous. The free agent signings were terrible. And the coaching wasn't good either, Larry. It was not good. It was a poorly coached football team, situationally and on a daily basis. Now, if you give Bill a situation where, okay, it's 3rd and 7, can you cook something up? Can you tell the guys what to do? Yeah. But if you're the head coach and you decide that, we'll just put our defense coordinator in charge of the offense, what's the worst that can happen? That's bad coaching. If you have a situation where your best players in 2022 are handling the ball, and Jacoby Myers, Ramondre Stevenson, and Mac Jones, and they execute a play against the Las Vegas Raiders that they did, that everybody out there in the Bay Area, I'm sure, remembers. That's a badly coached team. If you have players who would even consider doing what happened on that play. Ramondre Stevenson throwing it behind his head to Jacoby Myers, who then whips it 40 yards downfield to Mac Jones back in midfield. He gets stiff-armed into the depths of hell, and Chandler Jones scores a touchdown. I mean, that's a firing offense right there for anybody else.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't want to go too far. We're trying to preview this game, but it's a fascinating case study in deterioration of an entire team that people don't, I think, really understand how bad they got.
You know, and that's why we want to have guys like you on, because it's, you know, you don't really know when you're watching from afar. You're only getting impressions. The people who cover these teams on a day-to-day basis know way better. That being said, what kind of talented Bill leave Mayo on the defensive side of the ball? Because, you know, McMillan and Tavai, the two inside backers, both had 10 tackles last week. I know some of those young DBs are pretty talented. I always felt like Bill was one of the best DB coaches out there, you know, right there with Bud Carson, George Seifert. I mean, you think of the best DB coaches ever, I think of Bill. How would you describe this defense? Who are the best players on this Patriots defense, Tom?
Jabril Peppers is their best player at safety. He's been fantastic, great leader, plays with unbelievable violence and fire. You will see him launch himself over a pile for no good reason at some point Sunday. Kyle Duggar's the other safety, so they have two good safeties, but those are your two best players. And Kyle Duggar, for no good reason, allowed a 56-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf in week 2 that basically lost the Patriots the game.
Yeah.
Gets caught staring at Russell Wilson. You have an elite receiver in Metcalf, runs right past him, turns into a 56-yard touchdown. I think Duggar's excellent. I think that he has Pro Bowl potential, certainly. But you can't have one of your best, the most highly paid players break down like that when your team is that challenged. So those are the two best players. Christian Gonzalez is a very promising outside corner. Tavai is a very good linebacker, Pro Bowl level linebacker. But their front has really dipped and hasn't been able to create any pressure. Some of that I think is the absence of Christian Barmore, who has blood clots and has been out. And as a result, you don't have that guy who just moves the pocket from an interior spot by himself. Jawan Bentley, who's their middle linebacker, inside linebacker, kind of the brain of the defense. He was hurt last week. It was a pectoral situation, so he has been sent to IR, done for the season. So there are pieces, Bentley, Barmore, Anthony Jennings, who's an edge player, Godshaw. I mean, there's good players all over the defense, and they show up there, but they've taken some hits. And right now, to just continue to prattle on, Geno Smith and Aaron Rodgers diced them. You'd have to look at what their numbers were. I think it was 33 for 44 for Geno, and then Rodgers, I think, had like 6 incompletions. But the last two quarterbacks have completed 75% of their passes with 3 touchdowns, no picks, and few sacks. So if Purdy wants to sit in the pocket, wait for somebody to uncover that or get the ball out real quick, that's going to be in the realm of possibility.
The irony of Peppers, Peppers is this monster hitter, and yet he wears the extra cushion dome on top, right? He's wearing the pillow on top, but he'll step up and hit you. There's no question about it.
Wearing it, hell, if you're going to be driving a race car, might as well put on your seatbelt.
There you go. It is when we talk about the Patriots, of course, the quarterback position, where this is big Tom Brady land out here. I'm a big Tom Brady fan myself. And obviously they hope they've got the next Tom Brady and Drake May. They also took a flyer on Joe Milton, and Milton is raw as raw gets, but he may have the greatest physical skill set anybody's ever seen. I mean, you're talking about 6'5", 250, a guy can throw the ball 90 yards in the air. He's an unbelievable physical athlete. What did you think of Milton this summer? What have you thought of May so far? And I guess we're going to see neither of them, right? And we're going to see Brissett unless the game gets out of hand.
Right. Milton, to start there, he's one of those guys that if it was Major League Baseball batting practice, he's the kind of guy that when he's throwing, you stop to watch him throw. It's right. Bizarre. I mean, it explodes out of his hand, and it's pretty accurate. He just he's raw, and his decision making isn't great, and he'll throw it into some team meetings. Of course, it's going 71 miles an hour, but it's going into a team meeting,
right?
So he's a wicked nice kid too. I was like, he was remarkably nice, which is going to bode well for the Patriots quarterback room, I think, going forward, because, Brissett's here on a 1-year deal, and their hope and aspiration will be that Drake May is ready to go by the end of the year and will be their starter. So what have I seen from May? I've seen a guy who made drastic improvement from the person that we saw at the beginning of April. His footwork kind of sucked. His mechanics weren't great. He was dropping down with his arm a little bit. And then he was very hesitant because he was kind of thinking what he was supposed to do. Covering the Niners, it's a very regimented offense and the things that they want players to do in terms of footwork, timing, all that stuff. But he improved a ton throughout the offseason and training camp, to the point now where he still ain't ready in terms of being able to withstand the absolute chaos that would be coming at him. but he would be ready on a team that could support him. If say the Niners swung a trade for Drake May this week, sent Brock Purdy out here, and said, "Let's see what
Oh,
you
so
can
good.
find." He'd probably do pretty well. Niners line is still Trent Williams and the rest. They're still top tier, right?
I mean, the Niners line and Colton McKivitz is getting burned for lots and lots of pressures.
But
The rest of the line grades out okay, and obviously Trent's Trent.
I don't want to go through the whole scouting report, but what I'm saying is if Drake May was in a situation where he was going to be protected and not let loose in the middle of the highway for chaos, he'd be fine. But they can't put him out there because it's chaos right now.
You put a poll on your Twitter about, it says quick slants poll. Through 3 weeks, the Pats have turned in 3 very different performances. Which one is closest to the real them? Which is a great way to phrase this. And obviously week 1 against the Bengals, which they won. Week 2 against Seattle, you mentioned the DK blowing right by the 2 defenders on the go route, and then that game went to overtime, by the way, and the Seattle one. And then week 3, the Jets took them apart. And the 36% said week 3 against the Jets, I'm afraid. 35% said week 2 against Seattle. Only 3.7 said week 1, and 25%. It's a mix. It's a blend. It's a blend. What do you think, though, Tom? If you were voting in your own poll, which Patriots team is the real Patriots team?
Probably week 2 with a sprinkling of week 3. I think that the Bengals were flat. I think that the Patriots had that experience advantage I alluded to earlier. But what sucks, Larry, is you just don't know how the injuries are going to be weathered. The guys I mentioned on defense, they were such a great tackling team in week 1 and week 2. They rallied to the ball. Everybody was hemmed in. And then once they lost those guys that I mentioned and stress was put on different positions, the tackling was atrocious last week. They had 14 missed tackles against the Jets.
Wow.
14. And then, they allowed 7 sacks as a team, and I believe there were 10 total hits in addition to the sacks. So, we are often persuaded by the last thing that we saw.
Sure.
So right now I am trending towards, I haven't seen them fix it with Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson on the offensive line, and I haven't seen them tackle well with Christian Barmore and Jawan Bentley out. So until I do, I'm suspect.
Two last ones. Do you think it's smart that they're sitting May? Rodgers sat for 4 years behind Favre. Alex Smith came here in that 2005 draft. They threw him out there. He got tarred and feathered and beat up and separated shoulder. And it took him until Harbaugh showed up in his 8th year before he could kind of put everything together. What do you think's the better way? Do you throw a guy out there, Roethlisberger, and let him make mistakes and take your chances? Or is it better to let him sit, watch, and digest things and maybe throw them out there in year 2?
I think that we all would unanimously say it's wait. Even with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they had Smith there, and they were a playoff. They drafted him, and they were able to still sit him with Alex Smith sitting there. And I think, what would Patrick Mahomes be if Alex Smith hadn't been there and it hadn't been as good a team? Would he have developed the way he has? Would he be Alex Smith? Would he be Patrick Mahomes? I mean, it's worth the question. You look at Sam Darnold right now, trashed in New York because he was put out there too early. Now he's in a better situation with a great offensive coach and a brilliant receiver. And look at it. He's killing it. Bryce Young already on the scrap heap, looking to move on from him. We watched it with Mac Jones. Year 1, he was good. Year 2, he was in probably the most adverse situation that you could be in as a quarterback. And that started his decline. So there is no question that the best thing to do is build the foundation first, then put the quarterback in. That's why I thought the Patriots should have traded down. They should have taken a tackle. They should have taken a wide receiver maybe in the second round. They should have taken J.J. McCarthy at 11 if they wanted to. I think J.J. McCarthy's a terrific player. But they said, we got to have that one. No, we're going to take that one. So
J.J. McCarthy in Boston, that couldn't have worked. right?
Right.
That would have been enormously popular. All
I
right,
know.
last one here. Who has the most pressure there? I mean, post Belichick, post Brady. Is it Mayo because he's the head coach? Is it Kraft? Is it Kraft's kid? Is it Drake May? Is it Brissett? Um,
Probably,
who's got the pressure on them for kissing off on Brady, kissing off on Belichick, and getting down the road? Or are the fans totally with Kraft and the moves that they've made, and there's no pressure on anybody?
it's on Kraft, Larry.
It's on Kraft, Robert Kraft.
Bob Kraft. So he's got the most pressure. He's also 82 and has a lot of money in the bank. So, I mean, pressure is relative. It's not like, 41 and not knowing where the next paycheck's coming from if he loses the job. But it's on Robert Kraft because people hold him responsible for not spending when it was Bill who didn't spend on behalf of Robert. And Bill, because of the fact that he was the figurehead for the Patriots' success in so many ways, along with Brady, people are always going to look at him as being much more sympathetic and appreciated and iconic figure than the owner. It's just the way it is. Sorry. And so regardless of the fact that he went 4-13 and he was obstinate and did a poor job since really prior to Brady leaving, then people are still going to side with Bill and his legacy as a coach and say, well, if Robert was so smart, he'd have fixed it. So that's the heat is on Robert Kraft because he's the one who made the succeeding decisions to bring people in. I mean, he could have sat there for another year with Bill and said, go ahead, take more slings and arrows, but he just could not sit through the possibility of another quarterback being demolished.
Tom, I'm a huge fan of your work. Keep it rolling on NBC Sports Boston. You do a fantastic job. I follow you on X, and we wish you nothing but great health and success this year. And on the way out the door, I mean, since we're talking Niners Pats on Sunday, give me a prediction. And is there any wild card factor player or angle on this game that maybe I haven't brought up to you that you think maybe is pertinent this week?
No, they ain't got nothing. They got unveiled. There is no secret sauce the Patriots can hatch to surprise an ornery, pissed off, purpose-driven Niners team on Sunday. This is a bad spot for the Patriots with their injuries, inexperience, the fact they got to travel, and the fact that the Niners are pissed. So there's nothing. So I would say we're looking 28-31-ish to 10-13-ish.
Tom, have a great year. Appreciate your time, man. Tom Curran stopping by from NBC in Boston. Appreciate his time.